Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, what's happening, folks?
Sam Healey, what's up, y'all?
We're back, and we have, it's been a while since we've done a Miami Dice.
It's been a while since we've done anything.
It's been a while since I've done a Miami Dice.
Thanks, Delta.
Delta! All right, well today is not actually a full review, and I want to make that extremely clear.
Yes.
Because this is SeaFall that we're taking a look at, SeaFall from Rob Daviau. It is a legacy game. So SeaFall is a game that is going to change as time goes by. We have currently played a prologue for the game and the first game.
Yep.
And SeaFall games, it was 4+ hours that took. And so we're giving here a very first impressions of the game, and we're going to do more of these as we play more games. We'll do the final review when we think we've seen enough, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
I went into this knowing nothing. I think you did too, right?
Same here. Well, I knew about the theme, that it was nautical, almost a colonial era type nautical theme. I knew all of that, but nothing other than that.
Yeah, I knew mostly that. I did see one designer's diary sort of document pop up, so I read a little bit of it. I knew like one small aspect of it, which is not it's in the rule book, and then or you get it immediately, and then I had seen some of the artwork.
Speaking of that, we're not going to spoil this game. We're not going to spoil things that happen over the course of the game, but we are going to be talking about how the game plays. That's not a spoiler. There's a whole rule book, and
if
it
it's in
tells
the
you how to
rule
play
book,
the game.
it's not a spoiler.
In fact, we have not really discovered too many secrets of the game at this point.
Well, that's kind of a spoiler.
Well, we can't. I mean, at that point, you should be watching the video. All right, seriously, if you don't want to know anything. But I mean, there's still a lot to have discovered.
Yeah.
That really needs to be said, because that's going to have a big bearing on what we think of the game.
Yes.
True.
And so, real briefly, just as kind of an overview, SeaFall is a game where each person is controlling a colony or province. They're called provinces. And these provinces are going out and exploring islands. And you are trying to get glory points. And at the beginning of the game, this may change as the game goes by. At the beginning of the game, you get these points by building buildings that give you special abilities, by upgrading your ships, giving them special abilities. You have these 2 ships that are going around. By exploring undiscovered islands, which when you go explore them, there's a big book, almost like a choose-your-own-adventure style book that you go through, and things will happen. And by beating up on islands already discovered, by attacking them,
peoples.
and or attacking other players possibly. You're going to be going through and getting points that way, and when you get a certain number of points, a game will end, and you'll be adding your glory together as the game progresses, and whoever has the most glory, I guess, after the whole campaign wins. So right now, Sam is winning, I believe. But that doesn't mean a whole ton. It could change.
No, it doesn't. I won the prologue and I won the first game, but I mean, beginner's luck.
So you also will be getting these things there's these advisors, which give you special abilities. You can hire advisors, and you will use these advisors over the course of the game. You also will be buying and selling wood, spice, iron, and linen. And you'll be buying them, picking them up in one spot, taking another spot, selling them, trying to get money that way. Money is the way that you get a lot of the points, by buying different things. That's pretty much what we can tell you about how the game plays.
Yeah.
The game has a prologue, which is essentially a tutorial. It's telling you how to play the game. And then once you finish the prologue, they're like, okay, now the game actually starts. The rules tell you that you can play the prologue without any negative adverse effects, and that's pretty much the truth of it. Like
They say that in the book, you mean?
Yeah, like for example, you're going to be able to upgrade your ships and stuff, and negative things could happen to you.
Right.
Especially, you can have negative relations with the different islands.
Okay.
Right. But that really won't get nailed to you in the prologue.
Right.
And that's good. But I am concerned that the prologue, and if you haven't played this before, you just kind of get through that prologue. I would say the prologue was kind of a tutorial, but it's like one of those video games when you play through tutorial and you're playing through the parts and you're like, are we going to get to the game yet? You know, kind of thing.
Yes.
Right.
Components. What do you guys think about the components? Now, we use the upgraded coins. There's a metal coins, but they're coins, right? What about
Cardboard coins.
What about the coins overall? I mean, the components overall.
I thought they were decent. I mean, it wasn't anything to necessarily write home about. I thought the card stock was what you would expect from a game this size. Keeping in mind the fact that it is a legacy game, you're going to be, I don't think this is a spoiler. I think you know what a legacy game is. You're going to be ripping some of the stuff up. So I don't think they put too much time and effort or money into the card components of the thing. I think they may have skimped on that a little bit, but I mean, really, we haven't seen a lot of the components, but the ones that we have seen, they're good. They're decent.
I like the obviously the upgraded coins are very nice, but the ships themselves are very nicely done. I guess I don't have that much to say about the components because they're sort of serviceable. The artwork is sort of more where I'm leaning towards, and I like some of it, and I really don't like some of it. I definitely like the artwork on the characters. I find to be evocative. It's very nice artwork on the characters. The graphic design of the game itself is kind of bland. It's very lots of browns and grays and more browns, and it's all sort of it fits the time period and the setting of the game, but on the other side of that token, it's also not particularly eye-catching.
Yeah, it's functional, kind of like the new Fire and Axe board.
Right.
It's functional, but it's rather dark. Doesn't really pop anywhere.
Right.
But I mean, it's functional and it works and it's not cluttered. So that's I guess a positive point.
I'll go farther than that. I actually dislike the way the game looks. Now I'm hoping that as the game progresses, there's more. But if I saw this game sitting out and people playing it, I would go, and walk by.
Right. This is true.
Because it just looks boring. I mean, the ships, I know you said you like the ships, but they're plastic ships that I've seen in every game before.
Well, they're the one.
The goods are cubes again. You know, it just doesn't.
They're plastic cubes, though.
Yeah, there's that, but I'm just saying the whole thing is kind of. I can't even look at a lot of parts of the board without kind of leaning in to figure out what stuff is. There's just like no color.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I guess that fits in the theme to some degree, but we're hoping, and we're also not using a good half the board at this point, so I don't know what's going to happen. The theme of this game is colonial.
Yeah.
Now, I went into it like, okay, is it this? And the designer had said somewhere that he was going for an Indiana Jones feel. And I'm sensing that in the game.
Okay.
I was feeling more Pirates of the Caribbean than I was Indiana Jones.
Well, no, he's like Indiana Jones at sea, I guess is his thing. Okay. You know, that genre. The story so far is intriguing, but hasn't gripped me. I'm like, ooh, it sounds like there's a really good story, I hope. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does make sense. Again, to me, I know we're 2 games in, and I know that when you slap the word legacy on the box, that comes with some, I don't want to say baggage, but that comes with some expectations. Like, hey, this will evolve, right? If this game ended right now, that would be a different opinion from probably most of us. If this was it. But there's more. So we can't say this is how it is right now, because again, Legacy has a different arc of evolution. But I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. What were you just talking about?
We're talking about the story.
That's right. The prologue and the first game, which is what we've played so far. So far, it's sort of like watching a movie that a friend of yours told you, this movie's amazing, but the first half hour is horrible. You need to sort of push through that, and then you're going to get some of the best action or sci-fi or whatever movie you're watching that you've ever seen. You're hoping to trust your friend. But so far, that prologue, which did something at the end of the prologue that really displeased me, and the first game are just sort of okay to me. I find it to be it sort of feels like a serviceable Euro style pick up cubes and push them along. And yeah, you get a little bit of story because, like Tom said, you read from that book, and those are highlights because you get a little bit of flavor. Because everything else sort of devolves to buy brown cube, sell brown cube, attack these people or whatever, right? There's dice and stuff, but the story in the book is highlights, and everything else is good old Eurogame number 742. So we'll see. But right now, that's sort of how I feel about the whole thing.
It's interesting as we played Pandemic Legacy, and there's 2 Legacy games so far, Risk Legacy and Pandemic Legacy, by the same designer of this game. Well, he did Pandemic Legacy with Matt Leacock, built on Pandemic. The difference between Risk Legacy and Pandemic Legacy was interesting story-wise, because Pandemic Legacy followed, it was very linear. There were some deviations, this character, something happened to this character, but that's something that happened to that character will happen to some character in every game. So you followed a very straight story.
Right.
Risk Legacy was more all over the map because it branched out.
Yes.
And so that was cooler in one sense, but in the other sense it also left for non-cohesive story. SeaFall's following that route here. There's a story, but there's no cohesiveness to it. It's not like, it's like, here's a bit, here's a bit, here's a bit, but we're not following any one thing. Even with what's happening to us, I haven't felt like this is what my character has done. There's we found some cool stuff on islands and things, but right now I would have a hard time telling you if I'm the one who found that cool thing or it was Zee's character. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I feel like it's coming. I feel like it's there. The writing is like saying, something else is happening. You'll find out soon. I'm like, all right, tell me now. Yeah. So I'm a little impatient in that regard. And if you are impatient, I don't think you should play SeaFall. I think I can say it right now. If you're an impatient person and you want excitement right out the box, I don't think SeaFall is going to give that to you. I think this is for a very specific group of players who are looking for long-term enjoyment rather than, I need it now.
And you say that like it's a bad thing, but it actually isn't. I'm not saying
it's like a bad thing. I'm saying if you need that instant gratification, you probably shouldn't play SeaFall.
And you shouldn't need that instant gratification. You should be patient. I'm taking a little bit of I'm taking a lot lighter hand with this than my 2 compatriots have taken. I'm not fully on board with comparing this to the experience that you get with Pandemic Legacy just because it's a Legacy game. I'm not fully on board with that.
But people are going to buy it because it's Legacy.
Well, again, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do it just because it's a Legacy game. If you are not into nautically themed games, stay away from SeaFall because that is exactly what this game is. The Legacy aspect, just because you liked Pandemic Legacy does not automatically mean that you're going to like this just because it's a Legacy game.
Right, I agree on that.
One of the things that we were talking about yesterday was, that it's a point that I made that they disagreed with, but I'm not okay with comparing this to Pandemic Legacy because with Pandemic Legacy we already knew how to play the game. Here we've had to struggle through learning how to play a new game on top of wondering what the Legacy aspect is going to bring with it, and that might have been more than we were expecting to have to do.
That's true. I didn't know what to expect.
And that probably soured our play experience a little bit because we were not expecting to necessarily have to learn an entire new game on top of all the expectation that comes with this being a Legacy game. And so I think that may have soured us a little bit to that. So I guess I'm being more optimistic maybe. And not to say that these guys aren't being optimistic, but I'm not as soured. I actually enjoyed the 2 games that we played. I understood what the prologue was trying to do. It was setting the tone. And not to say that they didn't understand, it was setting the tone of the entire universe that you're about to dive into. And yeah, it was kind of a bummer that Z alluded to some of the things that happened at the end of the prologue. But after that initial shock, I was like, okay, I get it. Now let's go ahead and move on to the new game. So I'm actually enjoying this experience. I like I really enjoy the theme. I like the whole idea that this theme brings with it of sailing into uncharted waters and going and finding an island and going into that island and exploring and finding things that you can take back home and sell and make money, and then going back out and finding some people that you actually have to raid because they're more argumentative than the last people that you ran into, and sometimes you run into people that are really nice and they just give you stuff, and I like all of that. I've really enjoyed the experience so far. And then on top of that, there is this thing of what's coming next, what's going to happen next, and there is, like Tom was saying, that feeling like you're on the cusp of something that's really cool that's about to happen, but you don't know what it is, and so that kind of spurs you forward. Normally, probably this would be about a 6.5 or a 7 for me, and I'm not trying to normally or prematurely throw out a rating. If the game stopped right now, I would probably be a 6.5 or a 7.
You mean if it stopped adding stuff?
Yeah, if this was all, if what we have done is all that there's going to be, this would be a 6.5 or a 7 for me. This is a decent, solid game in and of itself. But what pulls it forward for us, I think I can speak for all of us right now, is the legacy aspect. We don't know what's going to happen. So that's the thing that's kind of spurring us on.
Yeah. But again, I agree with everything you said there. For me, if it wasn't a legacy game, I would also rate it about that, maybe even slightly lower than you. And I'm just having a hard time talking myself into believing that it's okay to have a few bad games because later games are promising to be good.
Except I think you're saying that those games aren't bad. You actually like the game as is.
I mean,
right. You liked it all right, and I liked it a little less.
7 or a 6 out of 10 that's not a bad game.
I would give it like a 5 or a 6 right now. And so I'm just sort of going through the motions again because I think the promise of a good game is there. And I might end up loving this game. But no matter how much I like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 12th game, I still thought the prologue and the first game were not that exciting.
Well, I actually disliked the prologue, although I liked what happened at the end of the prologue.
You were kind of cackling about it.
Because I like interesting things, right? So I'm looking for interesting things. And the part of this game that there's like a choose-your-own-adventure book, which really kind of drives the whole game. Mm-hmm. I really like that. And again, we always get into these arguments over medium-weight games and heavyweight games. But other than a few people who think everything is light, for most people, this is going to be a mid to heavy Euro game. It really is. Yeah. Okay? There's economics involved. There's manipulation of dice. Make sure you have the right amount of dice to roll in different situations. Mm-hmm. There's a good chunk of downtime in the game. And if I had only played these two games, and if there was not the hope of a prologue, the hope of further stuff, I would never play it again. I really wouldn't, because I would go, okay, it was functional, the game worked, but there's so many other cooler games out there that this one doesn't attract me at all, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, moving around and delivering cube stuff, that's okay, but I've seen it a million times before. But, the story has me intrigued, so I am very hopeful, right? Because Rob Daviau has not let me down before. Mm-hmm. So I'm very hopeful. Mm-hmm. And I'm hopeful that when we come back in our second and third and fourth impressions that you'll see us getting more excited. But I think right now, Sam says we shouldn't compare this to Pandemic Legacy. I think that's inevitable. People are going to do that because as the word legacy, but it is really a different beast, okay? It is not the same game. I don't even think it's comparable to Risk Legacy.
Right.
This is more far like Eurogame Legacy.
Yeah. Eurogame Legacy.
Well, I mean, Risk Legacy was like based on Risk. Pandemic Legacy was based on Pandemic. Yeah. This one is based on a pickup and delivery type game with some attacking involved.
Yeah.
But at the point we are in the game, definitely in the prologue, attacking is a very minor thing. And that may change.
I wouldn't say it's a minor thing.
No, in the prologue it's a minor thing because
in the prologue,
you can only
definitely, yes.
So We'll see. Do not take this as our final word.
It is not.
We're not even giving ratings here because I mean, okay, you threw around ratings. But, I mean, I want you to look at our ratings as a complete game, but I just wanted to give you our first impressions on it.
Yeah, and that's what it is. That's what my number is.
Yeah,
It's the first impression.
Mine too, yeah.
So we hope. We're probably going to play it again today. We'll let you guys know as time goes by. I'm not sure how many times. I don't know if we're going to come back to it every game or if we'll play 2 games and come back. But look for regular updates from us. It certainly is exciting. We have not seen half the game yet, I think.
Oh, no.
Not even
Okay.
Close, yeah.
So I'm really pumped. The things that they left, we'll see what happens in the future. So that's that. Kind of we'll see. Anyhow, that's SeaFall. I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, thank you.
Sam Healey. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.